Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whatever time of day you are joining us. This is the Victory Road Wrestling Podcast. I am one half, one third, one quarter member of the pillar, the storyteller, Alex Braddock.
And I am the other half of Victory Roll Wrestling. I am one half, one third, I'm not sure, of the Brew World Order. And the guy that you see leaned up against the wall at a lot of 225 shows. Dylan Gilbert in the house. And let's talk some wrestling, dude.
Yeah, this week May is shaping up just to be a recap, not because it's a busy kind of feel, but it is just time frame and life is life sometimes, where we just need to record a recap and we need to leave it. But we are going to be trying something new soon, so I'll address it at the top of the episode. Mondays are still going to be recap days. We are still going to be posting the podcast recap video on the YouTubes, and hopefully in the near future, we will be posting up on just audio, so that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other things like that. We are working on that as we speak. But we will also start posting, hopefully every other week, when we have them lined up, on maybe Wednesdays or Thursdays, our watch-alongs that we do. We try to do a watch-along every other week. Sometimes it doesn't shape up that way, but we are starting to do separate content when it comes to that, in hopes to not have an hour and a half long podcast episode. So, and with that,
makes it much more, I guess, like snackable for people. Like, who doesn't have 30 minutes? But when you see that hour and a half, hour 45, I know it gets to be like oh my god.
Very much so.
So we're gonna give you the same content, but we're gonna try to break it down a little bit, DX style.
Very, very much so. Break it down. But without further ado, Dylan, let's watch some wrestling. Or not watch. We're not watching wrestling. Let's recap some wrestling with good old Monday Night Raw, buddy. What you got for us?
So Monday Night Raw, man, we're starting off the era of Gunther as as the heavyweight champion, and I could not be more here for it. 10,000 days as champion. Like give him the strap forever.
Right.
But looks like we're getting Randy Orton versus Gunther going forward at Berlin, and I think that's a rematch that we kind of needed, because I think their last match at King of the Ring was a great match, and I think that finish was a little screwy. Orton's shoulders were definitely up, and I figured that this was coming.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad it's for the title in Berlin. It's going to feel
instead of
huge.
Just some non-title picture match. And no, I think this match is going to be huge. Of course, we can kind of assume who is going to take it, because once again, 10,000 days and we're kind of slightly in his hometown, so
close enough.
Yeah,
the same thing with Drew and. When they two clash at the castle, like, it's close enough. We'll call it a hometown show.
Right. Yeah, and then we'll have him lose both times.
Justice for Drew, man.
Good times. No, the next year's Bash at Berlin is going to be a good one. That's that's going to be his hometown take home. But yeah, no, for sure. I'm excited for that one. Randy coming over to Raw and challenging for the heavyweight title. Of course, I don't think it's a full-time send over to Raw. I think it's just temporary because of the situation that happened at King and Queen of the Ring. But we shall see for sure.
And speaking of, I guess, former champions, we got Damian Priest calling out Finn Balor in what is, I'm just going to call a shut up and take my money feud.
For sure.
They have been slow burning this for a long time. And the fact that we're finally getting this is awesome. I think this Judgment Day split up stands to be just a license to print money.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, you've got the the fracturing. It looks like we're getting Damian and Rhea kind of going their way, and it looks like they're turning both face, which is again license to print money. Smart call.
Yes.
And then looks like Balor's got custody of JD and the divorce, and Liv got custody of Dominic, and Carlito's just kind of sitting with his hands in his pockets. Like, why does nobody want me?
Yeah, I mean, he's associated. He's guilty by association. But definitely a full kind of face turn for Damien and Rhea. They were on the more face side of everything in the first place. With the Judgment Day, like Dom, of course, taking that big heel, can never speak a word because he's getting booed out of the building, and you've got. You have Rhea, who is when she made her big comeback, she was obviously the face in that Liv Morgan situation. Damien, of course, being the face in that Gunther feud, and a few others. Honestly, I mean, I still feel like his feud with Drew was strictly Damien being face.
I think that was the kind of like, let's see how people react to him as a face.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, like WWE definitely does have. There's certain feuds, certain angles that they do where it's like, let's see how people take this one.
Yeah.
And I think that was a like, will people back him as a face? And I mean, as talented as he is, as charismatic as he is, he's over as all hell. So I mean, turning him face is the move.
Right. Yeah, man. And I mean, I think it's gonna be a good one. Finn and Damien, of course, two guys that know each other well.
Yep.
Chemistry will be on fire for that match, and who knows? Maybe we get a little demon coming back.
I have been hoping for a demon return for so long.
We'll see. We shall see.
It would be so good.
Anything else for Raw, my friend?
So we had, CM Punk has to come out and talk because of course he does.
Yes.
Seth Rollins comes out, says he's heard enough. They almost have a pull apart, and my head scratcher of the night, Bronson Reed, comes down, mauls Rollins, 6 tsunami splashes, and Rollins is literally coughing blood.
Great.
Which is what you love to see out of a guy who's had injury issues. I'm assuming this means like a little bit of a write-off. I'm assuming this is some time to get healthy. But man, as a Seth Rollins fan, I hate it. But I think they could not have made Bronson Reed a believable monster in any better way than that.
Yeah.
Because just the visual of him just mauling. I mean, Seth Rollins has been he's a Grand Slam. He's been double champion, one of the most decorated guys in the company, and to have him just defenseless and lifeless against this monster, like I think it's a super, super effective moment. But selfishly, as a Seth Rollins fan, I'm gonna be sad if this is a long-term write-off. But
yeah,
get healthy, man.
I mean, I go back and forth because he had his time with After Mania, and then slowly came back for what was that? Was that Money in the Bank? Because Drew cashed in at the last minute.
Yes.
I believe that was Money in the Bank. He came back for Money in the Bank, so Money in the Bank was Seth versus Damien.
Yes.
And it wasn't long after Mania, but I felt like it was long enough where, like, hey, he didn't need surgery, but it was long enough for him to come back and be good. I mean, I'm sure it's one of those things that, hey, we need... I hate to make him the phone call guy, but I think at this point in time, he's the part-time phone call guy. Where it's like, hey, we need you for 3 months. And okay, cool, I'm here for 3 months. I'm working every night. I'm working the pay-per-views. And all right, cool. We need to postpone Seth versus CM Punk. All right, cool, great. I'm just going to take 2 months. I'm going to go hang out with my wife and kids. When you need me, call me.
Yeah, I mean, I know we try not to get too much into like the rumor and backstage whatever. I've heard that apparently like they're saying it is a chronic injury issue that he has had. They're not saying like what, but I mean, if you've watched Seth Rollins for more than 6 months, he's had knee issues. So I mean, what's to say? Like he's like maybe healthy but not 100%. It's like, hey, I can come do these big matches and then take some more time off. Who knows? I hope that it's not the case. I hope that it's not that he's injured. I hope maybe it's just let's save this match for Bad Blood or something like that. I don't know.
We'll have to see.
We'll have to see. And then my last note for Raw is that, folks, the Wyatt Six can in fact wrestle.
Can in fact wrestle.
And have a compelling match, because I know that was the big fear, was like, okay, well, once it gets into the ring, are they still going to be as terrifying? And I was like, if you watch the Wyatt family, you know it's possible for them to take the masks off and then just brutalize people. And it looks
Right.
like now they're doing it with more speed, because you've got Gacy and Loomis that can can
Right.
go,
Right.
and Rowan's the powerhouse. I mean, that's terrifying in and of itself,
Correct. Just having Rowan stand across from you is
because that is a large human being.
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, I'm excited, dude. Of course, we've been commenting on the whole Wyatt Six situation for a while now, talking about would they take off the masks, would they wrestle in their full gimmick, I guess you could say. Um, but having Gacy be the bigger set guy that can still go as fast as he goes, and having Dexter, who has wrestled all kinds of styles, coming in and doing it, the powerhouse Rowan coming in, and just having them be able to go, all right, great. We're going to be spooky scary when the masks are on, but when we take the masks off, we're going to beat the ever loving tar out of people. And
I mean, just Undertaker style, man. Like, he
right,
has the terrifying entrance. He has the times where sometimes the lights go out and he pops up. But when the bell rings, he's there to fight like everybody else. You know, same
right,
thing with like House of Black. Like,
right.
you can build these believable spooky factions and still have them like fire up and beat people down.
Correct. For sure. Uh, but I believe you said that was your last point.
That was it.
So moving on to good old NXT on Tuesday. Not a lot to talk about. I do not believe, I cannot recall if NXT was NXT or if it was NXT's Great American Bash. But at Great American Bash, we had the good old heel turn. We love us a good heel turn around here. The Rascals hugging it out in the ring, doing everything that they do, and then Wes turning around and popping good old Trey Miguel with a super kick and giving Zach Wentz. Is he Zach Wentz still, or is he?
I think he's still Zach Wentz.
Yeah. Giving Zach Wentz a good low blow after an emotional night. I unfortunately I cannot. I don't know what happened. I know it was a 6-man match between the Rascals and another 3 tag. If I had to guess, it was someone from TNA, or if it was Joe Coffey and the 3 of them. But
I know they had been feuding with No Quarter Catch Crew, so maybe I don't remember.
So maybe it was.
But so I didn't watch the episode, but I watched the video of the heel turn after, and I think, man, you would talk about compelling.
Oh, very much so.
When Zach Wentz screams, "What are you doing? That was your brother," and then gets low blowed, it's like, oh my god.
Well, and so what did it?
Like in the chest.
What did it for me was you see Trey take a step back, and in your head you're going, he's getting popped. Either that or he's popping somebody.
Yeah.
But it was the emotion out of Miguel and Wentz that you knew, hey, all of this was coming already, and they may have wanted it, they may not have wanted it, but they knew all 3 in those hugs. If I know myself and I know a wrestler kind of thing, I know when I am in that hug, the words that I am saying are "thank you boys for everything." You know, like, not trying to amp up the emotion on camera. I'm literally telling these boys, hey, thanks for this. I'm sorry it had to come to this. Whether that's a voluntary action backstage or an involuntary action backstage, like, Wes is probably apologizing, like, hey, I'm sorry that it had to come to us breaking this apart, but, like, business is business. I love you guys, and I can't wait for what's to come. And then just pop Miguel, low blow Wentz, and call it a night. So
it's not something I ever expected out of the Rascals, because I mean, literally the entirety of their thing is they're just fun-loving dudes who love wrestling.
right.
So to have a vicious heel turn in that grouping was, man, Shawn Michaels is cooking. I'm behind it. People are not wrong.
Michaels is cooking for sure. And then we move on to what I will be crowning the night of the week that turns us into marks. Good old Wednesday Night Dynamite. Kicking it off with MJF versus Kyle Fletcher. Whew. I expressed last week how I feel about Kyle Fletcher. He is at the top of my underrated wrestlers list. He is a phenomenal worker, whether he is in a tag team or he is in singles. And if you wanted proof, here is your proof. Go watch MJF versus Kyle Fletcher. Uh, Storytelling at its finest.
That I loved that this felt like a star making match for Kyle Fletcher. Like the crowd was behind him because of like his, I mean, he's had bangers in this company, and now that he looks like he's kind of maybe turning his back on the Don Callis family, and so the crowd just getting so far behind him. That moment when he handed the screwdriver to do away with MJF, and he refuses to do it and toss it away, and like the building was shaking. Like the crowd was so behind what he was doing, and as somebody that's been watching him for quite a while, it's exciting to see.
No, for sure. I mean, for me, I turn and I look at everything that was going on. Ospreay watching on and going,
Yep.
"Hey, I'm not going to get involved unless I have to." But he believed in Kyle. He's like, "Look, hey, you wanted to go to war for me. I'm going to let you go to war. I'm going to watch." And just you had your cheesy MJF situations, but also at the same time, we go back to what we said during MJF and Ospreay, where MJF can pull out all the stops of a classic heel and still put on a 60-minute banger. Sure, Kyle Fletcher and MJF did not go 60 minutes. I believe they went 15 or 20, which is still fine. It was still a great match. But it is definitely one of those things. You sit there and you look at it and you go, all right, what are we setting up? We're definitely setting up MJF and Ospreay, which shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
But what is on the back burner after that match? And I have something on the prediction board already, but if you would like to make some more comments before that, be my guest.
Man, I think the moment we got when MJF bloodies up Fletcher, Ospreay found his way out of the door because it was definitely Callis that put the road cases in front of his door, blocked him in.
That's where I was going to talk about the predictions. You can call MJF all day long, but it's got to be Callis.
It's 1,000% Callis because MJF, I mean, you've got to think at this point, like he is, at least character-wise, he's completely blind to anything else. He is just defending his championship, and as he's putting it, defeating redcoat terrorists. But like the moment of MJF setting up for that Tiger Driver, Ospreay coming in, breaking it up, and Ospreay wearing the white shirt so that when he grabs Fletcher and he holds his head to his chest and he backs off, his whole shirt has got that big blood spot. Like Ospreay knows how to make a moment. Ospreay knows how to get a visual. Him holding his best friend bleeding in his hands, blood all over the white shirt as he's staring down MJF, man. Like this feud, just they're ramping this intensity.
They're getting there.
But also, I mean, I think once he wins his title back from MJF at Wembley, because that's on my prediction board.
Yes.
Callis is bringing somebody. Callis has got something for him.
Dude,
Him and Fletcher. Because he tolerated Ospreay leaving. He's not going to tolerate Ospreay and Fletcher leaving.
Yeah.
Callis he's a bastard of a businessman.
See, that's where I go into prediction making, where it's one of those things that we saw that Kyle does respect Callis at least a little bit.
Right.
With the whole, hey, I understand you don't want me to do this, but I'm going to war for my brother. Like, that is my guy. I'm going to war for him. Now, we could definitely pull the whole thing of it comes out that Don put the crate in front of it. And we have a Fletcher, Don kind of push back and forth.
Well, we also had the spot with the screwdriver.
Right.
He could have. I mean, Don gave him that, and he intentionally dropped it and chose not to go that route. So, like,
yeah, that's true.
You can see that, like, he is, even if it's piece by piece, he's moving away from the family.
Yeah, Because I was going to say it could be one of those things that it turns into, hey, Don put the crate in front of it, but I'm not going to have you sit here and fuss and bitch and moan about Don putting that crate trying to save me. And then we have a Fletcher Osprey thing. But you do have a point where it is now Fletcher has come so far off of the family that we have to be pulling somebody in. And if, we're going to fantasy book here, somebody's been out with a wrist injury for quite some time now. Along with someone is about to possibly win the G1. So we could be putting up some crowns here in AEW here real soon and have good old possibly Jeff Cobb and Mark Davis on the Callis family.
Look, Dunkzilla needs to come back to wrestling. I miss him so much.
Very much so.
I would not mind seeing an Aussie Open feud against each other, like having like Davis join the family.
Yeah.
And Fletcher side with Osprey and have those two go one-on-one because they've put on so many bangers together. I guarantee you that in practice they've probably put on classics. Just all right, hit their spots, know their know the moves, everything. Like I'm sure those two's chemistry has got to be unreal.
Absolutely, has to be. But yeah, moving down the line, we have good old Mariah May and some other person that I cannot remember the name of.
Viva Van.
Viva Van, yes.
She's one of those that's been climbing the ranks. It's kind of fun to see. Like I think I watched one of her first, at least first bigger indie matches. It was like the first Circle 6 show.
Oh, nice.
So it's one of those like I've just been kind of loosely following for a while. So I was happy that it wasn't like a 3-minute squash, but.
Yeah,
it was a decently competitive match, but I mean, come on, Mariah was going to win.
Yes, I still stand by the fact, and no disrespect to both of these women, but I still stand by the fact that the match lasted as long as it did because there was a commercial break in between it.
Yep.
So,
because
take that as you will, but
I think they also I think they did a confusing thing to me of we're not going to give Viva an entrance at all. She's getting the already in the ring treatment, and then still somehow had a competitive almost 10-minute match.
Right.
Like if the person's unimportant and you're building this other person as important, go 5.
Right.
Have her just get all the offense in.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it went as we thought it would. Mariah taking the win and having a little present gifted to her.
We talk about visuals a lot. The visual of she opens the present and it's the picture, and they did it like Jericho pulling out the new list in the Festival of Friendship. It's one of those moments where it's just like, why is everybody losing their mind? And she turns it around and sees Mariah die. And arm hairs stood up. I was like, oh, this is the kind of unhinged stuff that I'm here for. And Tony sliding into the ring, the hair slicked back and the jumpsuit, like ready to go to war. I love it, man. Like that match is going to be wild.
It's going to be chaos for sure. For sure. But yeah, no, I'm excited for it, dude. Tony is, like you said, getting more and more unhinged. I really hope that, that reflects in that match that they eventually have.
I'm kind of hoping that they give them some sort of like a stipulation match, like maybe have it be like some sort of, I don't know, Hollywood street fight or something like that, where like they just because I mean like this feud has escalated in violence every week. If you go to just a standard wrestling match, to me it seems like a de-escalation.
Yeah.
Now I don't think they need to go Texas Death or anything, but
right.
I mean, take my money if you do, but
yeah, correct.
I mean, even just as simple as like doing it as like a street fight or like a false count anywhere or something like that, I think it'd make that a huge match because like they're already trying to rip each other's heads off.
Absolutely, no, yeah, they are trying to kill each other, and that is not an understatement.
The feud was literally born with blood,
which means it needs to end in blood.
Yes. Again, in wrestling, there's escalating and there's de-escalating. This feud is just escalating up and up and up and up.
Yeah. let's just hope the roller coaster doesn't come down before All In.
Yeah.
So we shall see. But moving on, we've got. Uh, are we to the point of the main event?
So I had one thing before that.
Oh, correct.
We
Yes.
had Camille looking fantastic in that
Yeah.
2-on-1.
Yep.
I mean, if you're trying to show how just how much of a monster she is, how great of a talent she is, that was the way to do it. Have her just maul two competitors, and then
Yeah.
we slow things down a little bit with a good old Mercedes promo, which God, dude,
It's
I'm a fan, but it's just hard to listen to her talk.
it is rough.
But I'm glad we got clarification on the Britt Baker is back from suspension. They are going to have the match at Wembley. Whatever backstage drama, I don't care.
Yeah.
The story that they have so far, I'm invested in, and I want to see Britt Baker take her head off at Wembley. And I think that stands to be a good match if their chemistry works. It also could be chaos. Who knows?
It could also be chaos. And we're just gonna put a little asterisk on that of just, hey, just a heads up, there could be chaos.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of good matches leading up to that weekend, and it could, one, get easily swept underneath the rug, or two, given way too much time.
Yes. And I'm not one of these people that's like a total Mercedes hater. Like I think I was a huge fan when she was Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
Her NXT runs, like she is obviously talented. I don't like the direction that she has gone since leaving WWE. And that's not to say that it can't get better,
Yeah.
but we'll see. That's kind of where I'm at with it all. And since we're on the topic of chaos, let's get to this main event.
Dude. Jeff Jarrett versus Bryan Danielson in an anything goes match. Why did we need to make it an anything goes match? To prove that Bryan Danielson is all in.
We have to have Jeff Jarrett put his seal of approval on a 20-plus year veteran.
I don't know.
Look, any chance to put Danielson in a weird match and have him, beat the bejesus out of somebody. And
Absolutely.
Steamboat on commentary was so much fun because you
Oh,
could
it was
tell
a good time.
Ricky was having the time of his life. His comment about like I believe that's if I can call it a shoot.
Yes, no, that
I
is joke of the year.
I almost fell off my couch. Like you could tell Steamboat was having fun. You could tell Danielson's just like happy to be wrestling as long as he is.
Yes.
Jeff Jarrett, man, like he if he were to retire tomorrow, it'd be like good, perfect send off. Like
Yep.
you've done enough, but I don't think Jeff's like I don't think he's a bad person. I don't think he's a bad wrestler. I just think he is inserted way too much into things because he politics for himself well.
I mean, maybe. I am not at liberty to say because
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm just speculating, but dear God, how do you have a segment where Jeff Jarrett has to be the one to give the seal of approval to arguably one of the, I'd say, top 10 wrestlers to ever do it?
For sure.
I mean, the man has held gold on multiple continents in just about every country, country and company you can name.
Yeah.
He was Ring of Honor for a stretch of time. That WrestleMania 30 main event is, I would say, probably a top 5 Mania moment ever. He didn't need a like, hey, good job, kid. You're going to make something of yourself in this business one day.
Right.
As he is probably 3 to 5 matches from retirement. It just, it felt forced, and it felt like, well, we don't have anything for Jeff to do, so here you go.
Here you go, kid. Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I have loved the things that Jeff Jarrett has done.
He's had some great matches. He's had some great moments.
He's had some great moments in AEW.
Yeah.
It's let's not discount that, and let's not discount Jeff Jarrett. But
No, I respect the hell out of him. I don't understand what we're doing right now.
Right. Well, that and I honestly, for me, yes. Let's not put the point of we needed a Jeff Jarrett seal of approval on Bryan Danielson.
Yes.
That is strike number one. Strike number two. Let's not put a upper 50s, if not 60-year-old guy, Jeff Jarrett, in an anything goes match when, no offense to Jeff Jarrett, cannot do anything in an anything goes match. I just, yes, he took the trash can bumps and the floor bumps and the chair bumps, but like when you think of an anything goes match, you think of a John Moxley. Like you've seen Bryan Danielson in an Anarchy in the Arena match. You've seen the chaos that he can do, and you can definitely tell that all of that was dumbed down for someone that just wanted to be in an anything goes match.
Well, and I mean, a good chunk of the match was they fought up through the crowd into like the concourse, and it was like like a snack bar fight for like a good 10 minutes. Now it was
Right.
fun. I thought the match was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I will not discount the match. It was a good time. It didn't need the stipulation that it had.
Yes, I think honestly they could have done the same thing. Like you got to prove you're ready for anything, so I'm bringing in somebody else, or like have Jeff Jarrett. Hell, even even though Satnam can't work for shit, just put him in there to be like, okay, well, are you ready? Could you fight a giant? Could you fight a monster? Like they could have
Right.
done a like Jeff Jarrett lines up a couple matches in a row for him, or something like that. Because like I mean, Jeff Jarrett he's an entertaining person.
Yeah.
Like I just say what you will about him. Like he's an entertaining person. He understands wrestling, and he could tell a story when he's in that ring.
Right.
I don't understand that one, but
Yeah.
it's ultimately just filler for the fact that right now we've got Danielson going up against Swerve Strickland, who, in case we didn't have a good enough moment in Ricky the Dragon Steamboat lifting the hands of Jeff Jarrett, Bryan Danielson, that's your send-off shot right there.
Yep.
You've got, hey, these two legends endorsing this man that is going to be seen as one of the greatest to ever do it. Perfect. And then we get Swerve. And I when his music hit, I like visible. It just like my shoulders dropped. I was like, "Oh, come on, we didn't need this right now." I'm gonna cash in our one per episode here. I get that Swerve is cool. I get that his moveset is unreal. His and like outside of his promos, the guy is really intelligent. He understands this business, and he is a really good wrestler. But Swerve Strickland is a fucking heel. This is not a babyface that has some fight behind him. This is not like everything he's doing, everything he's saying, he is being an asshole. And not like a stone cold Steve Austin, I'm gonna kick my boss in the head kind of way. He's like, what, old man, you can't hang this, that. That's heel behavior.
Yep.
That is a man that is trying to piss off an underdog babyface. And we're still cheering for him. And I just don't like the wires aren't connecting for me. And it's like I enjoy Swerve's matches. I think he's a great wrestler. I just don't understand why he's being pushed as a babyface and acting like a heel.
Yeah.
He's acting like a heel. He's working like a heel. He's talking like a heel, and they're cheering for him. And I don't get it.
I don't either. I will say a big pet peeve of mine, and I will preface that I fully believe that a fan should do and react however they want to react.
Of course.
But if you want to be considered a smart mark, as we like to put it, you understand when someone is supposed to be a bad guy and when someone is supposed to be a good guy. Now, I will say, if you don't enjoy a guy, don't cheer for him. I'm fully on that train. If I step into a wrestling ring and I do not entertain you, I do not want a reaction. Because then I know that I need to get better to get y'all a reaction. But if someone steps in and is supposed to be a bad guy, and let's just say Cannonball is a woman and pulls a commentator into the ring and is going to take their freaking head off, and y'all are cheering for them? Like, I understand. The guy's great. The guy's talented.
He is.
Go buy his merch, go get his autograph, go take pictures with him after. I don't care. But during the show, he is this ultimate monster that you are supposed to boo and react to. So when the big babyface comes out, you get this massive cheer and this explosion of babyface potential. So why are we not booing the hell out of Swerve and turning around and getting the big babyface blow up of Bryan Danielson winning at Wembley and All In? Because if it doesn't happen that way, we will lose our minds.
Let me tell you, I think they intentionally announced Wrestle Dream in Tacoma today as we're recording this. Tacoma, Washington. Do you know who's from that area? One Bryan Danielson. Do you know what would be a great city to watch him retire in? Tacoma, Washington.
Tacoma, Washington.
I'm just saying.
It's in October?
October.
I got vacation days left.
You take you take that moment right there, you put it in front of an audience that will be 100% like the emotion would be there.
Yeah.
I think Wembley would be a wild send-off for him. I also think Wembley is when you get the big pop. You give him a couple months running with the championship and then have him retire on home turf.
Yeah.
Go out looking up at the lights in your hometown. And like, just if we're trying to maximize emotion, because this business is about getting a reaction out of people.
For sure.
I'm still not convinced that if he wins at Wembley, there's not going to be a 50-50 reaction. I don't get it. Because like everything that he is doing to this point, and look, he's dabbled in being a heel with Blackpool.
Yeah.
But right now, he could not be more babyface. And Swerve could not be more heel. I like who you like. There's plenty of shows that I have been at where I find the heel super compelling.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan of. But I'm not going to make the show about myself. I'm not going to make the show about what I want. You take the story that they're telling you.
Very much so.
And if you disagree with the story that they're telling you, that's fine. Like, how many times do you watch a TV show or a movie and like, well, it should have gone this way, it should have gone that way. Like, we weren't the ones to write it,
right?
But I don't know. I mean, like, you're in the theater watching Star Wars and you're cheering for Darth Vader. You know.
I mean, nowadays, yes.
Is he cool? Hell yeah, he's cool.
Right.
But like, he's destroying planets. Is Swerve cool? Hell yeah, he's cool. But he is disrespecting one of the greats.
He's literally saying that he's going to kill one of the greats, and not in a like, oh yeah, I'm going to fight you to death. No, like, I'm going to kick you so hard that your head decapitates from your shoulders so that you cannot feel your arms and legs anymore. That is heel speak.
He is telling a man who's had a history of neck injuries that he's going to stomp the back of his head so he can't spend time with his children. What about that is babyface behavior?
Correct.
What about it, man?
Correct.
And like, look, maybe this is Tony Khan playing 4D chess because here we are, this fired up about it. We're getting a reaction, but I don't know, man. I think the match at Wembley is going to be unreal. I think you've got two guys that are at the top of the game. Yeah. But I just don't understand, like, why the reactions are what they are. Like, I mean, when Hangman came back, before Hangman went full heel, he cut that promo, and it's a line that will stick in my soul forever. He said he broke into my home. We had to leave our home because of him, and you cheered him for it. Yep. Someone breaks into your home, and people applaud them for it. It's going to make you hate them even more, right? So Hangman doing the things he's doing, they're like, yeah, it's a heel turn, quote unquote, but I'm kind of seeing Hangman as a babyface in this situation again. And some of the stuff he's done after the fact, I'm like, yeah, he's definitely being a heel, but it doesn't make Swerve a face.
Very
I don't know,
much so.
man. I don't get it.
Very much so.
I'm invested. I'm just say all that to say I'm invested, and in no way does it detract from what these guys are doing. I just don't understand it's so much an area of gray.
Yeah,
It's so much an area of gray.
absolutely. Well, I'll go ahead and call it out in case we watch this episode back again. Me getting on my high horse will definitely be posted in shorts later this week.
Oh yeah,
But
please.
no, so jeez, that was just talking about the main event of AEW. This is what happens when we just have a recap for the week, by the way. When we don't plan anything after, we'll sit here and talk about things for 30 minutes. Quickly, we'll talk about the fact that MJF comes out of the Fletcher match, cuts an phenomenal American Pride promo, claiming that he is going to the UK to defeat another of Ospreay's boys, Michael Oku. And that match should be happening as we speak, as we're recording, not as we're posting. Which we're excited for, because Oku puts on phenomenal matches, and MJF puts on phenomenal matches. By the way, because I was just on my high horse, if you want to come at me and claim that I'm a mark for MJF, yes, I am. But when he does dirtbaggy things, I call him out on his dirtbaggy things, and I boo him if I'm in an arena because that adds to the show. I'm supposed to boo him. That is the reaction that I am getting out of, so I boo him to get the reaction. Fight me later.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I think that there's people and companies that we are both very closely connected to that I really enjoy watching work. But when they're doing dirtbag things, I'm going to boo or something.
Yeah.
Because they're doing dirtbag things. You can have a friend that does stupid shit, and they're still your friend, but you have to. But when they do the dumb things, you go, "Hey, dude, what the hell?"
Yeah.
Wrestling's
sure.
no different.
For sure. For sure.
So speaking of dirtbaggery, we have a TNA note today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Please.
That's right.
On Thursday night TNA. Yes.
It does exist, folks. So it's no secret if you know me for more than 10 minutes and we've talked wrestling, I am a big Matt Cardona fan. And I've loved the stuff he has been doing with Delander as his heater. She is in a marriage angle with PCO. And
which I feel like came out of left field, but
it makes
just because I didn't pay attention.
It makes sense and doesn't make sense at the same time. Sometimes you ride with it. TNA does weird stuff, and I kind of love it. But at their wedding, Cardona comes out with a gift for the happy couple, cracks PCO over the head with it. It was a brick. Surprise. But PCO is not human, so he's obviously okay.
Nice.
And so this week on Impact, Steph Delander is supposed to be celebrating her honeymoon with PCO. Gets the knock at the door. It's Cardona. They have a little bit of an exchange. Why have I not heard from you? Where the hell have you been? She tells him to get out. It is very obvious that these two, there's some sort of fracture. The clip cuts. We've got PCO being held down. Cardona gets face to face with him. It says, "This is what happens when you mess with my property." Curb stomps PCO into the ground as the camera cuts away. Now, whether he's talking about the Digital Media Championship, whether he's talking about Steph, whether he's talking about both, the "remember what happens when you come for my property" is a holy crap dirtbag line.
Yeah.
And I think Cardona might be cleared to compete because I know in a couple weeks he's going to be wrestling at GCW Homecoming.
Yes.
So, boy, a feud between Cardona and PCO could be really fun.
Be gnarly, dude. Could be gnarly.
And again,
man,
he's one of those guys that I love watching him, and I will watch shows because he's on them. But if I'm in that arena when he cracks PCO with the brick, I am booing him out of the building.
Absolutely. Nah, man, I'm really interested to see where that goes because As we know, Steph is still doing some Healy stuff with Matt and GCW. It's probably calmed down just a little bit here recently, but
I think they've been seen together less.
yes, yeah. Which makes sense. Most of the time, if you got like a company like TNA that are like, "Hey, we're gonna run this angle," like, okay, hey, just be respectful of that and don't run a whole lot on the indies together.
Right.
But as far as I'm aware, dude, they're too good together. Like the burnout of Steph being Matt's heater. All respect to Steph, you could work solo and you're phenomenal, but
Oh, 100%.
the heat that the both of them get from working together is so much better because they're together. So why would you ruin it with a TNA signing?
The sum is greater than the individual parts. I think they have such a chemistry as this group. But if you get a chance to have those same antics with a bigger audience and production and a contract, I could see it being a thing.
Oh, and I'm not
understand
discounting it. I'm not discounting it like, oh, hey, this is the way we needed to set it up. If that's the way they set it up, awesome.
Oh man,
Just don't let it be the way it breaks it apart.
And imagine like if this whole thing, Steph turns on PCO when they finally have the match. Imagine the reaction in that room.
Right.
And there's so many ways they can go with it. And I mean, PCO is one of those rare cases where he's having better matches now than he had in his heyday.
Right.
I don't know how. I mean, he's obviously not human.
Correct.
But I mean, they're setting up for some real fun stuff there. So like I can't wait to see where that's going to go.
Yeah, man, I'm very interested because also we need to preface because we didn't talk about this. We do not view women as property. So
1000%.
We just want to clarify that because we didn't talk about it. As we sit here and we talk about how Matt Cardona is a freaking genius for claiming, this is what happens when you mess with my property. We do not know if he is talking about Steph or if he is talking about his title. But either way, we do like to clarify that we do not see women as property.
I'm saying specifically if the verbiage that he used was aimed at Steph, it is to show how much of a bastard he's being.
Absolutely.
And I think he is, especially here recently, is at his best when he is a vicious bastard.
Yeah.
Like the stuff he's done in GCW as just the evil GM. He's so good at getting a reaction out of people and making people want. Yeah, I mean he caused riots in GCW. Someone threw a pizza cutter at him, which don't ever throw things at wrestlers at shows.
Please don't.
Don't. But that moment, I mean, people lost their freaking minds when he beat Gage. He is very good at eliciting a guttural reaction. Right. And if that's what he's talking about when he says, "Come for my property," good God, is he about to be booed out of these buildings?
Absolutely. But that was Thursday night.
Yeah.
We'll get off of the Matt Cardona Mark train. Let's talk about Friday. Friday Night Rampage. Oh, look, another AEW house show. All right, going on to SmackDown.
So because we've talked as long as we have, I'm not going to go too deep into this. I'm gonna keep it at Kevin Owens is getting a title shot at Berlin against Cody Rhodes, and I think that's great, and I think the match is going to be great. But as selfishly a person that is about as big a Kevin Owens mark as you'll find, come on, man, does he need to be Cody's cannon fodder? So does he need to take the bullet for Cody and then take the bullet from Cody? Come on.
So this is where we had talked before recording. I think it needs to be a KO heel turn. It's got to be.
Has to be.
Gotta be. We have now pushed away Solo Sikoa. He had his chance against Cody. Roman has returned, which we will get into in a little bit. We have pushed away the bloodline off of Cody, at least for the time being. So we need something for Cody to do that is not simply just face AJ Styles twice. We need to set up a story to make Cody's reign interesting and to move it along. And if that is to turn KO heel, I love it.
Yep.
Bring it to me. Because heel KO, we have seen time and time again, whether that is in Ring of Honor, that is NXT, or that is on the main roster. That man can do wonderful work when it comes to getting the crowd to boo him.
That's kind of my hope, is we see like a return to like Kevin Steen style heel work where he would absolutely massacre people and then just stand over them like he was in a trance. It's terrifying.
I am still waiting for the Kill Owens Kill shirts.
Oh my God. And we could probably do it now because they're allowing the swears on pay-per-view, so maybe.
They're allowing the swears, and a man is no longer in charge. Another man that is fully aware how marketing goes, and he's happy to sign on to anything. But, yeah, and then I referenced it earlier, Roman. Roman coming back. We talked about it last week with SummerSlam. If that is a spoiler for you, where have you been?
Yeah.
So Roman coming back and just laying waste to the bloodline, which we assumed was going to happen. We assumed that, hey, this is literally just going to be Roman coming in, laying waste, rinse and repeat, until it becomes a little too boring. And then we're going to bring in Paul Heyman. Say Paul Heyman can run his mouth because he is the wise man of the original tribal chief. That is what OTC stands for. They cannot argue with me otherwise. Original tribal chief. We need the wise man back. That is going to be a thing. Now, as we predicted last week, Jacob Fatu out with an injury. For our future audio listeners, I was doing the bunny ears quotation marks. We need the monster, the literal Samoan werewolf, to be out of commission while Roman is laying waste. This is how we keep it interesting. We have Roman come in, beat the tar out of the bloodline, because that's what anyone has ever wanted to see. We do 2 or 3 weeks of that, and then it gets a little boring. Okay, cool. We understand that it's boring. So we have Roman come in, lay waste to people, and then we have Paul Heyman talk on a mic for 5 minutes. And then the next week, we have Roman lay waste to everybody. We have Paul Heyman talk on the mic for 10 minutes. And then when that gets boring, we come in, we have Roman lay waste to everybody, and then we have Jacob Fatu kick his teeth in.
What I would love to see this lead to is a basically like Bloodline Warfare War Games. Like Survivor Series War Games. I'm hoping they're doing that again.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like, if Jimmy and Jay reunite with Roman, and then whoever their fourth would be, because there's only like 20 other Fatus that they could pull off the independents. Zilla's killing it right now.
Yep.
Hikuleo's still out there. There's plenty that they could pull from. But, I mean, if you've got, Guerrillas of Destiny, Jacob Fatu and Solo versus Roman, the Usos, and then whoever else they bring in as a fourth, you can't tell me that would not be a just absolute banger of a match.
Oh, no, it would be a grand old time. And by the time everything starts getting stale and boring out of that cycle that I had, we should be into November, which is supposed to be Survivor Series. So we'll get there. We will get there eventually. But we have to get there first. So I honestly think if we are looking at, going back to what we talked about earlier, Randy being on Raw, it could be a one-off thing. It could be hey, we just need an opponent for Bash in Berlin, and then Randy goes back. Or we could possibly be looking at a trade that has come out and flip the Jay going to SmackDown. Then again, now that I say it, we are doing a Jay and Sammy kind of thing right now. Potentially, there's your fourth there, bud.
I mean,
bring back the bloodline.
The honorary Oos back.
Dude.
I would pop for it.
It'd be a good time.
That was such a fun Sammy run where he was essentially just Owen Hart with the nation. Like, just the kooky white guy that's just there to like just be everything that the other guys weren't. Like, just in terms of silly and wild and over the top in this very serious faction. It was so much fun.
The top WWE moment that stands out for Sammy for me is Roman. You have to forgive him because he's just not feeling real oozy. It's just it took that whole like, hey, I'm the silly one and I'm aware of that, but then it just escalated it. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
Sami Zayn has always been Sami Zayn. Got it. Okay, cool.
has always been and will always be.
Correct. But moving on, last show of the week, AEW Collision. Solid match, or solid matchups that we had. They are still in the little esports arena in Arlington, right?
Yep, Arlington.
They are putting on some shows for sure.
Which
I know
I'm
you
loving
wanted to
that.
talk about.
I'm loving
Loving
the
what?
fact that they're doing the kind of the residency in Arlington. I like that they're selling a
Yeah,
smaller building. I like that they're packing out that smaller building because that's always been that's the knock. They're booking these bigger buildings and then 3/4 filling them, or
right.
that doing a residency like that. I've heard people say it's impossible to fill a building like that many times in one setting, and to which I say full sale.
Yeah,
They would pack full sell out every month, every week, whatever with NXT, and those fans were rabid for it.
for sure.
You can build a fan base kind of like if Collision becoming your local indie.
Right. And I
And
mean, at the same time, I mean, look at the Performance Center.
yeah,
They're selling out the Performance Center, and the Performance Center doesn't move. So, I think it's doable for sure. But I know you wanted to talk about the Texas Bull Rope match between
I
Thunder
sure
Rosa
did.
and Deanna Purrazzo. I didn't get a chance to check it out, but
So it's a match that I've seen. I think I've seen enough highlights that I've basically seen the match, and I think like that's another. We talk about escalation and feuds. They have fought progressively more violently to get to that bull rope match. Which, side note, if you want a good bull rope match, 225. We just had JTM Simon Phillips in a pretty damn good bull rope match. There's your plug, but. I thought this was, I always love when these like a lot of times women's matches get taken somewhat less seriously by certain people in the fan base. They're taken as just like, oh, it's not as violent, not as competitive, whatever. That was a violent match. Both of them came out totally bloody.
yeah,
And I think like from everything I saw, like it was a very good, hard hitting, violent match. And you can't it's one that you can't really detract from. But say well, for a women's match, whatever. Like Thunder Rosa and Deanna Purrazzo are both fantastic wrestlers, and now both have their issues where sometimes they have like a match where they're like stuff's just off.
yeah,
But I mean, everybody has those.
yeah.
But I think like it seems like from everything I watched of that match, they clicked well and beat the bejesus out of each other.
Good,
So fun stuff, man.
good. And then I want to talk about the trios match that we had.
Yes.
The 3v3 between the House of Black and the Bang Bang Gang with special guest referee Christian Cage. I love the fact that they sat there and they saw. You could say that a vet is pulling strings when it comes to politicking or whatever. I don't think it's that. I think they sat there and they said, this guy's got it, and he hasn't been able to do it for very long. So now that he has got it, he is a full heel, and he has one of the most hated factions in AEW. We're going to throw him on Collision. We're going to give him some titles. We're going to let him run around and do what he needs to do. And Christian Cage is still one of the best. He understands everything. I still hate the fact that we never got Edge and Christian back in AEW, but
Yet, I mean,
happy. I am happy with what we have now. So that is fine. Bang Bang Scissor Gang quickly do this when it comes to going back and forth between heel and face, and I love it. And then House of Black equally rides the roller coaster when it comes to going back and forth between heel and face. But I loved the match just because of the finish. And it is all that I caught. All 6 men are down. Call it a triple down, call it whatever you want to call it. All 6 men are down. Christian Cage counting 7, 8. At about the 8 mark, Buddy Murphy.
Matthews.
Dang it. See? This
Watch
is what
the
happens.
product, kid.
Yeah. I need to watch the product. Yeah. Finally gets up to his feet. Cage hits him with a spear, calls for the bell, and says no one got back up to their feet for a 10 count. Therefore, no one can challenge for my trios titles. Just a finish that you never thought would happen. You know, like those kinds of finishes don't cross your mind. Like, yes,
No.
dirty special guest referee shenanigans, definitely. But someone between those 7 men came up with the idea of, hey, you know what's a finish we never see? All men being down for a 10 count. And you know what would make it even worse? Is if one of us got up, referee hit us, and then calls for the bell because nobody got up. Like, that's
Which is Christian
phenomenal.
being Christian to a
Absolutely.
perfect degree.
Absolutely.
His whole run as with this patriarchy is so evil.
It's
Everything.
great.
I mean, to making fun of people's dead fathers, like everything about him is vile and hateable. What? I mean,
Yes.
it's perfect for his character.
Absolutely.
It's perfect
No,
for what he's doing.
it is great. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I haven't tuned into Collision in a hot minute, and I think I'm going to have to start doing that because after that match and after that finish, it was just applause all around. So
Most definitely.
for sure. But that is the week. If you had one takeaway from this week when it came to the action that we have witnessed in this recap, what was the one pull away for you?
Man, that freaking MJF Fletcher match. I know we talked about it endlessly, and I could talk about it endlessly again. I think just we talked about booing the person that's being a scumbag. The way that MJF gets the immediate pop when he shows up and usually ends his segments by being booed out of the building, I think it is such a testament to how good he is at being a scumbag.
Yeah.
I mean, damn, is he entertaining? But I think that's how it should be. Like when your guy comes out, if he's that evil, oh yeah, he's here. Oh my God, why is he doing that? Like,
Right. No, very much so. And that's the back and forth, man.
if you cheer a bad guy on an entrance, I can live with it. If you're cheering him being a terrible person, that's where I draw the line.
Very much so.
At least at the shows. In your own home, do what you want. I don't care.
Yeah. No one can hear you in your own home.
Right.
Well, that is the week. That is the weekly recap. We did preface beforehand. We were only doing the recap this week. I'm sorry if you did not hear. But, yeah, I think all in all, wrestling is getting back on the train. WWE just came off of SummerSlam. We've got some really interesting ones that we are paying attention to storyline-wise. AEW is still building and escalating towards Wembley. That is in 2 weeks, which will be fun. We might be having to put up an uncensored episode of the podcast because we might be sloshed when we record a podcast after Wembley.
Yeah. Day drinking and podcasting shouldn't go together, but they just might.
But they do.
They just might.
But yes. Well, Dylan, where can they find you, bud?
I am Dylan Gilbert on pretty much all social medias. To quote Juice Robinson, if I've said anything wrong, good thing I don't have Twitter, so you can't tell me. And other than that, man, you could probably find me at posted up on the wall at 225 shows or anywhere where there's good craft beer.
Absolutely. Which is something that we may have to bring into the podcast here soon.
Hey, maybe so.
You're not a member of the Brew World Order for nothing.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
I gotta live the gimmick.
As for myself, you can find me at Alex Braddock on Facebook, or you can find me at Alex Braddock on all the other social medias. If I don't use them and I don't respond to you, I'm sorry. I'm not a social media guy, and I need to get better at it. As for the podcast, we do not pay for advertising as of yet. So if you like what you've seen, hit the like button, hit the share button, send it to all your friends. I know for a lot of people that I have talked to that have watched the podcast really enjoy the weekly recaps because they don't have time to watch the wrestling and they just need a quick little recap. So if you have friends like that, send us our pod or send them our pod, English. But all in all, this was a great episode. I appreciate your time, Dylan. I appreciate you.
Of course, man.
But I end the podcast the same way I started. Whether it is a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, or a good night, this has been the Victory Roll Wrestling Podcast, and we thank you for joining in.